Hello, March the 2nd, 2021. And this vlog is called Medication. And it's another vlog I feel necessary to do. It's something that I need to discuss, put it online, basically to back up my case as being the responsible adult for things that go into my body, and speak about experiences of things that have happened to me with regards to the medication that I've been pushed to use, and sometimes not had explained to me, not had much documentation about or anything, and just people basically lay it out and say that's what you should be on. You really should, and you're not given much choice as to these things. And the thing is, when you're usually at a hospital and you're in those sort of situations, if you're going to hospital, you're in a vulnerable state because you're stressed out. People are saying that you're ill. People are suggesting that you need medication. And this is all adding to the stress, Anyway, I'd like to start with is I suppose one of the things that I keep sort of getting encouraged to take is metformin for diabetes type 2. I was on metformin years ago. I have investigated holistic methods to cut down on sugar levels. As it stands at the moment, I think I'm in a really good state of health. So what I'm doing, which is leaning towards holistic methods, that to me that's sufficient because I'm really healthy. Yeah, I'm a lot more healthier than people, the average person, let's put it that way. So, and I think if you sort of look at maybe I should do like a training video or something just to sort of let people know physically how healthy I am and things like that. It might be worth doing just to prove that. I think it was basically down to one tablet at one point, if having any. At one point, my health was in top form, really good health. When I was in hospital in December, which was voluntary I volunteered to go in there. And then they've sort of pressured me to be in there for a longer period of time. And they've also pressured me to go on meds, like metformin, because I wasn't on metformin before I went in. But in December, I was asked to go on metformin. I took one. They started taking blood samples every day. Prick tests. Something I don't do, something I've stopped doing now. And it's basic for me, it's conditioning just to get you in a certain way of being. But I don't. What I noticed as well, taking the tablet, then doing the prick test, you'd find the prick test, your sugar levels were within the levels. I think it's 5 or 6 and 11 or something. If it's between those two numbers, you can't. That's considered normal. You see. So, but then is it through coercion and talking, I suppose maybe they have a more forceful tactics with some people, but maybe they thought, well, he's a big lad and you know, we need to be careful about how we approach him, so we'll try to convince him. And then they're trying to put me on 1,000 milligrams of metformin, even though the figures in the blood tests on a lot of days were within the norms, within the normal figures that they go by, you know. But one of the nurses started insisting on 1,000 milligrams, sort of up the level, you know, saying it was the doctor's, probably was authorised by the doctor. The doctor's just like, no, he needs to be on this and that's it, you know. There's no fucking well, it's Dr. Nicholson, I think, but I've hardly spoken to this guy, but he seems so rigid in his views. Cross Lane Hospital, and he just seems a very I spoke to the other staff, but he came across as very rigid, and it's like it's his way or the highway, even though I think I probably spent about 10 minutes talking to him, you know, and they're making decisions about what medication you should be on and everything. They hardly know you. I just found him very repulsive, let's put it that way. I wouldn't take advice of somebody like that, you see. And they know it. You know? Their character. But what's happened sort of in December during this time is I've gone along with sort of the meds that they've been advising to a certain degree. And it's almost sort of like, let's have consent and let's move on with our lives. We just agree, you know. But the way that they've treated me in that hospital has, on occasion, has been abusive. I'll speak about one occasion. There was 6 male members of staff, and they get a big cushion and they put it in the pharmacy room, the meds room. And I was just walking sort of up the aisle, sort of getting some exercise while I was in the hospital. And I went down, and these sort of sneaky blokes, you know, they were all smaller than me, but very, you know, you can tell there's something wrong with them. And all of a sudden there was 3 men on my right, 3 men on my left, grabbing my arm, and they're trying to throw me into this cushion. And I believe it would have been an injection if but basically what I said, okay. If you want me to take some meds, just give them to me. You know, you don't have to, you know, be abusive towards me. Now the meds, I didn't know what they were. But they gave me the meds, and I took the meds. Because I thought, well, you know, I'm not going to be forced by people, you know. I'll just go along with it. I'll be complicit because they're forcing me, you know. And there was one lad there, ginger Scottish bloke, and he grabbed my arm, and shortly after the incident, he said to one of the other people, he said, I think we should be careful with this person because he's got massive arms. And I think he was slightly intimidated by the fact that they were all grabbing him and I was resisting, you see. And he started being very polite towards me after that. And I just believe it's I suppose his awareness that you know, you may be messing with somebody that you shouldn't be messing with. Basically, I can make my own mind up about things, you know. And these people putting me in a position where I was forced to take some things which I never agreed to, but it happened. Yeah. In this country, and I never consented to it. I went into that hospital of my own free will. I didn't say, there was no I was asked, would you consent? And I said, I will go of my own free will into that hospital. And that is what happened. And it was within a short period of time, within a week, the saying, well, we think you need to stay for ever so many days. And it's all it is the lingo that they sort of come out with to put you in an awkward position so that you feel as though you know, you have to consent to what they're saying. And they sort of make out that they know the best way forward for you, even though I would argue that a lot of them hardly know anything about your background. With regards to medication or anything. If I can also point out, you know, when I was at that hospital, there was an incident with a young man throwing plates and coming out with a knife. And they were, the staff looked very fearful for their own safety. You know, you sort of what I'm trying to say, they should not be putting pressure on people, you know, going into places like that for help, putting pressure for people to go on meds, to do certain things, you know, as long as they follow the pharmaceutical law that they've had laid out to them by their superiors. Anyway, with regards to metformin, I'm taking a holistic approach to diabetes, and I just thought, you know, doing this vlog on medication, I'd lay it out that I am looking back at holistic methods, you know, decreasing my sugar levels and trying to eat food that helps process certain processes which help, and I'm looking at the foods. I think ginger helps with your blood and you know, lessens the effects of this supposed condition. So that's me looking into holistic methods to help myself, you know. And that says that I do not need to rely on pharmaceutical drugs like metformin so much, because I am looking into holistic methods. You know, I am going out of my way to look after my body, yeah. There's a lot of people who don't bother, but I am going out of my way to look after myself. And that means I don't need so much help from a doctor. I'm as well informed as a doctor. if not better in a lot of cases, because I know myself better than a doctor. You know, another doctor, they know themselves better than they know me. But I know me better than any medical professional in North Yorkshire or the world, you know. And I think it's an important thing to emphasise that, because people are trying to force people onto pharmaceutical medications, and in a lot of cases, I mean, at these groups, I've been recognising that people are getting addicted to certain drugs, and certain pharmaceuticals are affecting people in a very bad way. And these are legal sort of drugs, you know. So to stand up for myself and say, well, I'm going to try my own approach, and I'm going to try and be, you know, self-disciplined in how I apply things. You know, you are what you eat, and I'm sort of looking at everything I eat and thinking, you know, maybe I should alter that, or, you know, that's me making strides to help myself. I don't need to be forced into a fucking hospital and told what I should be having by people who are, to be honest, some of the people who were telling me things, they didn't even know how to look after themselves. They were overweight. Some of the staff were overweight. You know, you could tell they've got issues with eating. So why would you take advice off them? You know? This Dr. Nicholson, he did not look in the best of health. You know, I'll be honest, he did not look in the best of health. I wouldn't want to aspire to look like him. You know? Whatever medications he's on. But it's, you know, I just feel it's important just to say, look, I'm looking after myself. You know, and all these sort of pharmaceuticals and drugs and things that you sort of push in, you know, aren't necessarily beneficial. Anyway, I've been through the last visit to that hospital, and I've highlighted some of the sort of drugs, medications that they're enforcing. And I believe a holistic approach would be better. In my humble opinion. And what I'll also say is I do not I don't appreciate people who suggest that they're close to me, who have limited understanding of me as a person. And I say that because they don't appreciate some of the situations I've been through. And yet they insist on medication. I think they're foolish. I think the word idiots would be applicable. And I think one of the things we were talking about in the group the other day is that a lot of older people do not want to admit to themselves what is happening within their children's lives, within their, you know, children who might be in their 40s now. They don't want to admit it to themselves, because if they admit it to themselves, it means that some of the things they've been through are lies, which they are. And the way that people are being treated is as a result of their neglect. You know, they've ignored things that are actually happening, you know. And despite the pleas that's been put out by, say, my generation, they have ignored them. Because it's more convenient to ignore things that are going on if they are difficult things and they can't handle it, it's more convenient to suggest, I suppose, medication is an easy way to wash them. Just say, well, you should be on this, or because it makes out that they are making an effort. You know, if they're suggesting something and saying, oh, well, you should do this, that sort of takes the blame away from them. But it's a lot of these medications are not beneficial, and I think it's sucking the life out of some people. So that generation of people and people who make out that meds and things are helpful, I think they need to have a serious rethink. I would advise them to go to these groups like I'm going to, where real issues are being put out there and real things are being recognised. You know, and people are recognising you can't just brush things under the carpet or make out that medication will solve it. There's a lot more to it. If a person gets angry or upset about things, they are not to be labelled as a psychopath or a nut job, or they've got mental health issues, which is like the approach that they've had for quite some time. If somebody loses a temper, they have every right to lose a temper. If they've got issues that they need to sort out, just to have that release is beneficial to them. And it can be helpful to sort of let someone express themselves. And I think that's a lot better than medication. I think talking to people and having a sort of a situation where you can speak out amongst people, I think that is much better than telling someone to shut up and just take medication and just become like zombie-like. That doesn't benefit, because the person isn't breathing in and out and expressing themselves and being human. They're sort of subduing things and, I suppose, becoming sedated on life. And I don't think that's a good thing at all. I like to see people with life. I don't like to see people who are sedated. Yeah. So it's gone on for quite some time, this thing about medications, but what I'll say is there's people who have been insistent on things in my life, and I get quite upset at them for the way that they've been, because they are, they're not talking, discussing issues. They're forcing meds on people, and that's just, it's wrong. If you've got somebody who knows their own mind and you can't talk about things with them, there's something wrong with you. The people who are forcing people onto meds, those people have something wrong with them. They're being abusive towards people, and they need to sort themselves out. They need to realise that is not beneficial for them as a person either. It's bullying. It's bullying. Anyway, that's my latest on medication at the moment, and I'm, like I say, I'm looking to holistic methods, as I always have done, really. I've always been open to holistic methods and different ways of helping oneself without having to resort to drugs from big pharma or any of these groups. Right, I'll leave it there. Peace.